Okay, let's get back in our seats. Is that good? All right. Okay, is everybody ready? Any any questions? I don't know why you guys love to ask questions during the break. I don't get it. Why? I well, you still have to get on the microphone during the break now, but you guys love to wait until the break to ask me questions, so that way I don't get my break.
Okay, I got a question. Wow, that's loud. I have a silver membership on your website. Does this mean I'll have 2 memberships for a while, or will you upgrade my silver membership?
I will upgrade your silver membership to the Gold Plus, and it's free, so you don't get charged for this 30 days. Any other questions?
Yeah, come back and use this mic.
Okay, is this better? Man, this is like really close. Any other questions? Vicky, can I pick on you now? I love hearing success stories, guys. And I mean, hearing all these success stories is really the number one motivation that really put me into gear to prepare the kind of materials I prepare, do the program that I want to do the program to make sure that all of you guys succeed. And so that's why I have to pick on all these people to make sure I get their success stories.
It's called exploitation. But that's okay, you didn't warn me. But what exactly you want me to cover, Tim?
Well, just talk about a little bit about your deal and how you met me, and how I helped you. That's it. And how much you make on it, of course.
Now, see, anybody that saw the video, it's out there. So, anyway, I met Tim probably 2 weeks before, I guess 2 weeks after I signed my contract. And I had a property that was like devastated. There was nothing in the property at all. It was my first deal. And I ran into Tim at a meeting, Rich Club meeting, focus group or something. And we were outside, and I just kind of asked him some questions. Sorry. It takes me about 3 minutes to get calm. Anyway, I asked him some questions about this property. It was coming up to foreclosure date, and it was a pre-foreclosure, and I didn't know what to do at all. I had no idea. And I said, what can I do? And he gave me some pointers on how to possibly get the foreclosure stopped. I believe it was Friday before was our last email. We did this all through email except for that first meeting. Friday before the foreclosure sale, I called him and I said, my first buyer backed out. What do I do? It's going to sell on Tuesday. I was freaking out, literally. I thought, I'm going to be a failure. We all have those feelings. I'm going to be a failure if this deal doesn't work. That was me. And Tim was like, calm down. In the email, that was the first thing. Relax, calm down. It's going to be okay. And so he walked me through a couple of steps, and I did exactly what he told me to do. Had no idea what I was doing. I thought these people are going to be laughing at me. They're going to call and go, who are you? And what do you think you're trying to accomplish here? Because what you're putting on here is stupid. But they didn't. They acted like I was someone who had been doing this for years. Everything was fine. What Tim had told me was, I banked on it. And I think it was Monday afternoon. Mm-hmm. Monday afternoon, they said that they would postpone. No, it was Tuesday morning of the sale.
Yeah, Tuesday morning. I
called him I called him Monday night, and I said, I haven't heard anything. what do I do now? They must not going to be postponing it, so I've lost the deal. And he goes, no, they work on the day of foreclosure. And I believe the day of foreclosure was the 4th of July.
Yep.
Was the 4th of July. And so he said, just call the mortgage company tomorrow morning, which was Tuesday morning, the day of sale. He said they'll answer the phones and ask them what's going on. And so I did. And they said, oh, your date's been moved to August the 1st. You know, go ahead and go through with your deal. And I thought, this isn't real. It's not real. And so that happened, and they postponed it, and I found another buyer, and we closed the day before the next foreclosure sale. And so I was standing at Schlitterbahn with my kids in all of my glory, and closing the deal over the phone, and came out with money to pay American Express and everything. So $5,000. So I was excited. Thanks, Tim.
Do you guys notice what these two success stories tell you? They tell you that all they did was they just did exactly what I told them to. Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, it's, I mean, one of the major reasons why we're not successful in something that we're trying to do is because we don't believe in ourselves. We don't believe in what's going on. But if you know, just believe that it works and just go and do it, that it will work and you will, you know, get the deal done and make your money. But even if it didn't work, what is the worst case scenario? You don't get the deal, which you didn't have the deal in the first place. Exactly.
So Tim, how'd you get them to stall off the foreclosure?
What do I do to stall foreclosure?
How'd you get them to stop the foreclosure 2 days before it was supposed to happen?
Okay. Well, it is a different subject. It was covered quite a bit in my short sale seminar, but I'll go ahead and give you guys the summary of it. You submit a contract to the lender that's foreclosing on it, and along with your contract, you also have your proof of funds, either a loan approval letter or your bank account letter or a letter from like a private lender that will approve you of that loan amount. And you, along with that, you also submit an authorization to release information, so that way they would be okay with talking to you about that loan. And as long as your offer price will cover for the amount that's owed against the property plus all the closing costs, there's a very high chance that they'll postpone that foreclosure and let your deal go through. In my experience, and it changes from lenders to, not all lenders will do this, by the way. A lot of them do. But I have a very high success rate of being able to postpone it that way. I mean, I don't like to do rush deals, but sometimes when the deal is there, you know, even the seller called me at 8 o'clock on the auction morning. I just look at the time of what time the auction is going to be. Say if it's 10 o'clock or 1 o'clock, then I'll still try to postpone to the foreclosure. And that's how you do it. Okay. The DVDs for I'll go ahead and put a plug in for the short sale seminar now, but it's a seminar that Doug Smith and I did a couple months ago. The DVDs for that event is coming out pretty soon, so you'll be receiving emails from either me or Doug or both of us about that. So you can purchase the DVD at that time. The title for that short sale seminar is called the Advanced Short Sale System Seminar: How to Make $5,000 to $15,000 per deal wholesaling houses with no equity. So it's teach you about wholesaling, just like what I'm teaching you here, but geared toward the pre-foreclosure market. It is a more advanced technique than what I'm teaching you here, and it, it doesn't deal with too much with the low-income houses. It deals more with your moderate and middle-income and high-income type neighborhoods. Okay. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Is everybody comfortable now? It's cool and the speakers are loud. Okay. So now that you track down the sellers, what are you going to say to them? Okay, you pretty much called them up and said, hi, may I speak to, say the seller's name is John, okay? Hi, may I speak to John, please? And see how they answer it. And if that is John that picked up the phone, then I'll say, hi, my name is Tim. I'm calling about the house on, 123 Main Street or whatever the address is. I'm possibly interested in buying your house. And then I pause a little bit and I say, if I can pay all cash and close quickly, what is the least you could take? And so I start out my conversation pretty much directly what I want them to know that I'm trying to achieve is, if I want to buy it all cash and close quickly, and this is actually a Ron LeGrand line, if you ever heard Ron LeGrand. And yeah, if I can pay all cash and close quickly, what's the least you would accept? And so the seller will respond to you one or three of these. They'll either say, I'm not interested in selling, or the house is not for sale. Or they'll say, well, how much do you want to offer me? Or, what do you have in mind? Or they'll say, well, yes, I do want to sell, and I'm asking. And a lot of times they'll give you some outrageous amount, even over the value of the home. Like the house is worth $50,000. They say, I'm asking $100,000 for it. You get a lot of that. No, definitely not.
So then how do you deal with those
Okay, if they say house is not for sale, then you tell them, well, John, what are you going to do with the property? Okay, so you're trying to get them to open up. You try to get them to tell you more about what their plans are for the property. And so that way you can see what their motivation level is, okay? And the more you can get them to open up, the better. And so, but if they just, they just say, no, I'm not interested, then, or if they either just say, no, I'm not interested, or they'll say, well, I haven't decided yet, but I am planning to decide something in the next couple of weeks or next month. And then I would tell them, well, can I follow up with you in 2 weeks? Or if they don't tell me when to follow up with them, I'll just say, should I follow up with you in a month or so? And so if they are open for conversations, I will follow up with them once a month. Unless I know that they do want to sell, sooner than that, then I'll follow up with them sooner, which is like in 2 weeks. Okay? But depending on how much how much information you're able to get out of them, how open they are, they'll tell you when to call them back, when is a better time for them. And then what you would then do is you take that property information and you put in your tickler file. And so you know when to follow up with them. Okay? Now, it got messed up here. Go to page 34. Sorry about that. Some of the, it got repeats. But go to page 34. And like I said, you either follow up with them in 2 weeks or you follow up them every 30 days. If they don't want me to follow up with them over the phone, if they say, no, don't call me back, I'll still follow up with them, but I'll follow up with them with a postcard or with the yellow letter that I show you guys. Okay? And you continue to follow up with them until they tell you, well, stop contacting me, stop calling me, I've already sold my house. Or they're like, I give up, I'll sell it to you. Okay? So that's when you stop. These pages really got messed up. Okay, section 4, now go to page 47 in section 4. You guys didn't think I put all these pages together, did you? We outsource everything. We outsource most of everything we do. The only thing that we do in-house are the things that we're good at, which is marketing to find these properties, marketing to, calling the sellers, making offers, go out there, get it under contract, wholesale them. Everything else from all these like letters, all the driving for houses, all the postcard mailings, we don't do any of that stuff in-house. We just mail, we just mail the addresses that we want to the mailing house and let them do it. Or we find, a lot of time I put I like to leverage on people a lot. And that's why some of y'all were able to work for your tuition at this event. And same thing, sometimes my tenants, if they're the stay-at-home mom tenants, I'll put them to work too. I'll get them to write these letters and send them out, or to track down the sellers for me. So that's the way I operate. So that way I'm able to do so many projects and I'm still able to successfully do them. It's because I use the leverage of other people. I don't try to do everything on my own. That's just crazy. Okay, if they say, well, what's your offer? Okay, you don't want to give them a price. You want to try to get them to name a price. The only time when if you absolutely have to name a price, then you name one and you start low. But you try to get them to name a price. So I would say something like, well, John, I don't really know the condition of your house. Can you tell me a little bit more about what kind of repairs it has? What kind of repairs does it need? And so I get them to tell me more about the property now. Or sometimes they might say something like, well, shouldn't you already know the condition of my house? You sent me this postcard, or you're calling me. And you can tell them, well, no, I don't, because I drove by your neighborhood and found that I'm interested in your property. It looks like a good candidate for us to buy, but I haven't seen the inside or anything like that. So I don't know the condition. Please tell me more. So I get them to talk again, okay? And the key is to get them to talk. You want to know what their motivation is. You want to know, if they have the need to sell this house, or, did they just playing with you and just want to get a price from you. And then, after they give me what the repairs are, I then immediately say, if I can pay all cash and close quickly, what's the least you would accept? So I go back to that question again and try to get them to give me a price. And sometimes you get one of those sellers who just absolutely won't give you a price. Then what I do is I'll say something like this. I'll say, well, assuming the house is in the condition you say it is, or if they don't tell me what the repairs are, like they say, well, I don't know what the repairs are. Then I'll say, well, assuming the house is in perfect condition. Assuming the house is in the perfect condition, or in the conditions that you say it is, well, based on the other houses that my investors and I have been buying in the neighborhood, what if, and you should always say what if before you give them a price, okay? Because you don't know if they're gonna jump on this price, or if they're gonna really take it offensively. And so So you always want to say, what if, okay? What if we can only pay you between $20,000 to $40,000? And so you let them know, because if I came out and say, well, I can only give you $20,000 to $40,000, if they get offended by that, they'll hang up the phone on me pretty quick. But because I said what if, and I say assuming, I'm saying all these things that might not be the case, because your house could be in a better condition than those other houses in the neighborhood. But at the same time, it's putting the frame of mind in their head that that's how much houses are going for in the neighborhood, only $20,000 to $40,000. So now they don't think the value is $100,000. They think the value is a lot less, or whatever they thought the value of the home was. And so you either get them saying, well, that's maybe, or I'll think about that, or they'll say, oh no way, I want at least $60,000 for it. Boom, you got your price. They want $60,000 for this house. See, the thing here is not to get the price you want, not yet. The thing here is try to get them to name what price it is that they have in mind.
Have you tried saying a percentage, like 50 cents on a dollar or 60 cents on a dollar?
I don't like to say percentages at all, because most of these sellers have no clue. Okay, it's all about how much they're gonna make. They are more concerned with what they're going to net than the sales price of the home. So let's say, let's say the house is worth $100,000, and they have, let's say they owe $50,000 on it. A lot of these, especially in the low-income areas, they don't like to negotiate on what's the sales price of the home. They'll tell you, I want to walk away with $10,000. I want to walk away with $11,000. See, that's the language they talk. When you throw percentages, they're like, what is that? 50% of what? They don't even know what the value of the home is. And so then these are not that type of sellers. So I never say percentage. I always say an actual range of number, and I don't just say one number. I'll say, based on other houses about the same conditions of yours that my investors and I bought in that neighborhood, we buy them around $30,000 to $50,000. So I give this long range because I want to get a feel for what it is that they want. How much is it that they're asking for the house?
I was always told in my classes that he who talks or names the number first loses. And just what you're saying is, let them tell you the price, because you lose if you tell them.
Yeah, exactly. And so, because sometimes, here's what happened. If you give them a price, and they're like, okay, how would that make you feel? Yeah, you're like, oh man, I blew it. I offered them too much. Or if you name them a price, and I mean, it's, to them it's very low, you're gonna lose their trust in that relationship really quick. So try not to name it. If they force you, like after give them a range and they still haven't given you a price, they said, no, you give me a price. Then I'll say, well, if I'm gonna have to, give you a price, I'm gonna give you one that be in my favor. So what if I can only pay you $20,000 for this house? And then, now, and again, I use what if again. I always use what if. You always use range of numbers, and you always use what if, because now you're not committed to that number. Because that what if means that if after I inspect the house, and the house needs more repairs than needed, I can come back and renegotiate the price. Okay, or the condition is not in what they say it is, I can renegotiate the price. And also, they don't feel like, I am stuck on that price, and they get offended. So they'll say, no, I have to get at least $30,000 from the house because I have to pay for this bill and I have to pay for that bill. And so I need at least 30,000. Well, I mean, there's your price, your $30,000. I don't know if I'm gonna mention about how much I buy, but I'll just go ahead and mention it now. In the low-income houses here in Houston, on a 2-bedroom house, I generally buy them somewhere between $15,000 to $20,000. And they generally need between $15,000 to $25,000 in repairs. 15 to 25.
But you generally buy it for 15 to 25 feet?
15 to 20,000 for a 2-bedroom home. Yes. No. No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He mentioned that, so I buy it for 15 and then I put 15 into it, which means I'm in at 30, something like that. Because remember what I mentioned, when I mentioned how much you can wholesale these houses for, actually I didn't mention how much you can retail these houses for. So they can, a 2-bedroom house on a slab with at least 1-car garage can get you, 60, 65,000. So you still have room. A rehabber in a home like this, if they can make $15,000, they'll be happy. So what that means is you backtrack. So they can retail for 65. So that means they'll buy and say it needs $20,000 in repairs, okay? They buy it for 65. No, they'll sell it for 65 minus the $15,000 for their profit, so that's $50,000 minus $20,000 in repairs, so they'll buy it for $30,000. So if I can buy it in for 15 and 20,000, then I'm good to go. But even if I have to pay 25,000 for it and wholesale it for 30, I'm still happy. Okay. And so that's for the low income. And for 3-bedroom homes, I generally buy them between 20 to 27,000, sometimes up to 30,000. So let's say 20 to 30,000. And same thing, all these ugly houses, they need about $15,000 to $25,000 in repairs. In the low-income neighborhoods, yes. You have to get up to the mic because I can't hear you. Okay. All right. I guess since we're in this, I'll go ahead and give you some of the numbers in the moderate income areas as well. The moderate income areas is a little bit different. And the reason being is because it's a lot more competitive in the moderate income neighborhoods. So you have a higher demand for those properties. So I'm willing to pay a lot more. Like, let's say a house is worth $100,000, and the house needs $10,000 in repairs. In the moderate income neighborhoods, the house will need between $7,000 to $15,000 in repairs on normal. So you see, I mean, they typically need less repairs than the low income houses. But there's a lot more demand for them. Okay. And so in the moderate income houses, I typically wholesale them at 85% of value. So I would backtrack. A house worth $100,000, okay, and it needs, say it needs $15,000 in repairs, and so that's $85,000, and then I can sell it for 85% of that. So, whatever's, does anybody have a calculator? What's 85% of the 85,000? About 60? About 70,000? It's a little bit over 70,000, that's for sure, like 72,000 something, okay? Yeah, so there you go. So now that I know that I can sell for 72,000, now my job is to get for anything less than that. If I can get it for 65, great. Then I'll make my money there. But my goal to set out is I always like to make at least $10,000 on a wholesale deal. So that's how I look at it going into the deal. I always offer so that way I can make at least 10 grand. And if I just can't get at least 10 grand, I will settle, the least amount I'll settle is 3. I mean, if I can't make at least 3,000, then I'd rather just put that seller in my follow-up system and follow up with them a month or 2 months down the road and trying to get the deal done. But for you guys, if you're not sure about whether or not how much you might be able to make on these deals, I mean, if you see that the numbers are almost there, like you find a 3-bedroom home, and the seller's gonna sell it to you for $32,000, you're like, well, something might be here. I want you to just go ahead and put it under contract immediately, okay? And so, I mean, I do this too. Whenever I'm not sure how much I can sell it for, I'll go ahead and put it under contract, and then I'll find a buyer. And then if I find a buyer, and for some reason I can't make at least $3,000, I'll go back to the seller and renegotiate the price down. But I'll do it at that time. I'll try to find a buyer first before I do that. Okay? And so you want to do the same thing. Don't just throw the deal away. If you're not sure, get it under contract. In the
Tim, what do you tell the seller when you come back the second time? You've already made them an offer, and now you've gone to find that you really can't get that much for that house. What do you tell that seller?
I tell that seller that after my investor inspected the house, it needed a lot more repairs than what I calculated it to be, and so in order for us to do this deal, I need, whatever, $3,000 less or $5,000 less to do the deal. Okay, I'm trying to clear my throat a little bit here.
You've been talking about the repairs costing whatever number, 7 to 15,000. At what point do you and how do you establish the amount of repairs needed, and when?
We'll move on to that pretty soon. Okay, so since we're talking about what's your offer, that's why I'm just giving you a kind of like a brief through of what kind of prices I buy, what kind of prices I would say to the sellers. All right. Now, if the seller says, where is it? What's your offer? And this applies to if the seller, give you the price up front, or after you ask them, what's the least you would accept, and they give you a price. I mean, don't jump on it right away. Okay? Pause for 3 to 5 seconds. So you just like complete silence, and you can do if it's like some unreasonable price. You can say, you can kind of chuckle a little bit, and yeah, you can kind of chuckle a little bit and say, well, can you tell me a little bit more about the property? So you get them to open up the conversation again, talk again. But if it's a price that you're like, hey, that's a possibility, you can you still pause, still do your 3 to 5 second pause, and I normally go, and then I pause a little bit more. Like I'm trying to think, is this a good price? And then again, I go, can you tell me a little bit more about the property? So depending on the response and what price they give me, But after they tell me some more about the property, I go back and ask again, what if I can pay all cash and close quickly? What's the least you would accept? I keep on doing this until I get the price I want. Okay? And after you do this about 3 or 4 times to the sellers, they will say, I absolutely have to get this price. They'll give it to you. And now you know. Okay? But does that price mean that that's the price forever? No. That price means that I'll get it under contract now, but if I can't wholesale it and make at least $3,000, I'm going back to you and get it lower. So, that's how we do it. Okay. Yeah, like I said, keep on playing the game, and then as soon as you get them to be a price that you want, or the ballpark price that you think, that once you come out, look at the house and find out more repairs, that you can get them a little bit lower, set an appointment with them, meet them. And this is especially true when the seller has a lot of equity and you know that they're selling, that they have some type of motivation. This is when sometimes I even bend the rules and I'll come out there, even though the price over the phone is not very close to what I want yet. Because if I can understand what their situation is, and I know they have $50,000 or $100,000 in equity, or they own this house free and clear, I'll come out and meet with them. And then when I come out, I will use the repairs and try to get the price lower at that point. Okay, so as soon as you get, you feel something might be there, you schedule an appointment right away. So that's what you guys are going to do tomorrow. After you call the sellers and they said, yes, I do want to sell my house, this, I want this much for it, you're going to set an appointment tomorrow. And you set it for Monday so you can meet up with them. And but before you go out there, you want to now do your homework, do your pre-screening, based on all the repairs that they gave you, based on the price that they said that they'll do it for. You can now pre-screen the deal. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into pre-screening. I was actually going to do this part tomorrow, but let's do it today. And then tomorrow we'll start the day out with section 6. So we'll finish it up, section 4 and section 5 today. Huh? Section 6. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm innocent here.
Take that off the DVD.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Tim,
Uh-huh.
did you mention earlier that on moderate homes, you buy up to 85%? Or you can
No, I wholesale up to 85%
to a rehabber?
to a landlord, to someone who's going to buy it and fix it up and rent it.
That high? 85%? They'll pay that high?
Yeah. Landlords, they don't care about price. They look for cash flow. Even if you're selling to them at 100%, but the numbers will cash flow them at least $200 a month, they'll buy it. It's not about price for landlords, it's about cash flow. But here in Houston, I mean, you can't cash flow 200% buying the house at 100% of value. It's really tough because our property taxes are so high. So if you buy them at 85, 90%, you still can get $150, between $100 to $200 a month cash flow, depending on the neighborhood. You kind of know what the value is, okay? And in the low income neighborhoods, I kind of already gave you guys what the value is. And for the moderate income neighborhoods, they vary quite a bit, so I can't pinpoint like the way I pinpoint low income neighborhood. because in a moderate neighborhood, it depends a lot on the rental market in that neighborhood, how much the landlords can make per per month in cash flow. So this is where you either get in contact with your real estate agent, or if you're a realtor yourself and have access to the MLS, you run your comps and determine what the true value is, okay? And then based on what the seller tell you of all the repairs that's needed, you will use the software tool that I have, the Instant Rehab Estimator tool on the website, to estimate your repairs if you're not sure yet, or you can call a contractor and ask them. You can either ask them over the phone or ask them to go to the house if the house is vacant to look for it for you. Another thing you can do, okay. I'm trying to find the property information sheet. Oh, okay. The repair's coming up really soon. Go to flip to page, after page 55. The page after 55 doesn't have a page number, but it has the property info sheet. So when you ask the sellers, all the repair questions, you just put here, and you can kind of use this to estimate what the repair cost is going to be, okay? And if you look at the sheet after that, CRC, which is one of the hard money lenders I mentioned earlier, they have their own cost of work form that if you were to borrow money from them, that they use to determine how much the repairs is for that house. So if you look at that form, you will be able to tell how much a hard money lender like CRC will estimate the repairs on that house, okay? And this is, it goes in a lot more detail. It has like 20 different sections of all the repairs, actually more than 30 sections. And you can when they send the inspector to come out and inspect your house, he'll use this scope of work form, and he goes through and check all these and put the estimated cost on there, okay? So this is from an actual hard money lender here in Houston that they use. Is that good? Now you guys know how much in repairs these houses need? You're an expert now. You don't need this class anymore. Let's all go home. Definitely. Okay, let's definitely edit that part out. Okay, so so now you're done estimating your repair costs. Now you got to determine what the sales price that you'll be able to sell this house at. And like I said, moderate income neighborhoods. Oh, cool. Actually, I go into detail in each of this, so let's move forward. To find the comps, you want to get the comparative market analysis from your realtor, because that will give you the most accurate comp for that neighborhood. You can also use I call it your guesstimate value, because you already know what your dollar per square foot is for that neighborhood. If you can't get neither one of those, you can use the county appraisal district's value, but that's really just to give you a ballpark figure. It's not accurate. You can also use another website. It's called Zillow.com. And it's a free website that will also give you the value of the property. Again, it's not very accurate. There's no automated value software or website that can provide you the kind of accuracy that you can get from your realtor. Page 51.
I got a question on the square foot. If you're looking at square foot for the neighborhood, and it's like, say, for example, $50 per square foot, you look at a house and they've converted a garage or done something, is that still 50 square foot, the converted?
Well, it depends. If you're in the low-income neighborhood where some of the houses doesn't have any garage, then that conversion counts a lot. Now, but if you're in the moderate income neighborhoods where every house has a two-car garage, then that conversion count very little, because now they have to deduct for the fact that there's no more garage left. Okay, so it depends on the neighborhood. In the low-income neighborhoods, if you have a two-bedroom and a one-car garage, you should, if you're going to retail it, your best bet is to convert that garage into a three-bedroom and forget about the garage, because a lot of houses don't have a garage or only have a carport. And you would want to tell your buyers that as well. So that way, now it has a much higher value. Now it's a three-bedroom home comps and not a two-bedroom home. Okay. Can you go to the mic? Thank you.
What if it's not done by permit?
Yes. I heard you, but I wanted to make sure everybody can hear you. Depending on the neighborhood, in some of these low-income neighborhoods, the city don't come around very often. Okay, but in some neighborhood, like in Pasadena or La Porte, they do come very often, and so you best get your permit in those areas. So it depends. But it's not a big deal that you convert the garage without a permit. Yeah.
Tim, it looks like you can get about another $10,000 if you do that. Is that right?
Well, it depends. Yeah. I mean,
at a lower end neighborhood.
yeah, you're adding at least $7,000 extra.
And what does it generally cost to convert that garage? Saying that's on a slab.
If it's on a slab, it can cost you like $1,500 to $2,000 to convert it. Pretty inexpensively. And also, you have to understand, in the low-income neighborhood, rehabbers normally don't do like an immaculate job at the rehabs, because the buyers that buy in those areas, or the tenants that rent in those areas, I mean, they have a pretty low expectation. Yeah, or Section 8 tenants, for example. And so they don't require that you have granite countertops or tile floor. You know, you just buy those countertops from Home Depot, or you just use linoleum instead of tile. And a lot of the siding you don't have to replace. You just sand it down and repaint them. And so in some of these low-income neighborhoods, that some of the home investors guys that I know, to us, if we were to go in there and fix it up like the way we want to, you know, cost us $15,000. They go in there, $4,000, they're in and out. So they do very basic work. And some of the repaint, they don't even sand them. They just go and spray them real quick, and that's it.
Has the lack of a permit for construction that has already been done prior to you getting a house or trying to obtain a house ever caused a problem?
Only if the city had red tagged that house that repairs without the permit, because now you have to tear it back out and get them to come back and approve the permit. for you to fix it up again. And so it depends on the area. Now, if you fix a house up and you didn't get a permit, in the seller's disclosure, there's a section that you have to, disclose that. But the truth is, most of these buyers, especially in the low-income areas, they could care less. I mean, they're just happy that you got them into a house. And yeah, because I mean, the credit is a lot of time it's not that great, and a lot of the rehabbers that retail in those markets, they get them in with very little down, like either no money down or $500 down, and they're in, and so they're very happy to just get into a house.
The city doesn't ask for a permit if you're doing the repairs inside the house, as long as they don't see any changes on the outside.
Every city's different in that, but if you ask the city, then they'll tell you that you should always get a permit.
Yeah, but if you don't say, no one says anything. If you leave the garage door in place,
Yeah,
you have
you-
a false wall there, and you build that out, they're not gonna say anything.
Yes, you're assuming that they drive by and don't notice it, yeah. City of Houston don't do a good job with noticing these stuff, but like I said, I mean, if you go into Pasadena and La Porte, it's a completely different story. You guys should always get a permit in those areas if you rehab in those areas.
How many areas require an occupancy permit when you have a change of occupancy?
None, not for,
Missouri City does.
no, they don't require an occupancy permit.
I paid $20 to move into my house before I could move in
Really?
Missouri City. It's a requirement in case somebody's interested.
Okay, he said that in Missouri City, he has to pay $25 to move into a house. I haven't found that to be a problem at all. But I normally tell them I'm a company and I buy houses, so maybe it's different. I guess because I'm not occupying it. But every neighborhood, every city's going to be different in their permits and occupancy. So check with your city. But most of the time, since a lot of you guys probably going to be working in the Harris County area, so it's pretty lenient. Okay. To estimate your repair costs, like I mentioned earlier, you can use the software that's on my website, the Instant Rehab Estimator, and it gives you a very detailed list of all the repairs. So I know some of you guys are, very analytical type person, so you would enjoy that. And then, as I mentioned, in your low income areas, most of the houses, the repairs are between 15 to 25. If they're like ugly and they're vacant and ugly, they can go from $20,000 to $30,000. And in your moderate income areas, they're generally between $10,000 to $15,000. Okay, we'll get you in. But like I said, some of these repairs, depending on who's going to fix it up and what they're going to do with it, if someone's going to fix it up and rent it, or fix it up and do an owner financing, their repairs will dramatically go down. And that's why they will buy more than what other rehabbers who's going to fix it up and retail it is going to buy it from. Okay. And after you estimate how much repairs is needed, I normally add 10 to 20% contingency for miscellaneous items that I might have missed, and so you should always do that, especially if you're gonna be especially if later on when you are going to rehab these houses and retail them, you should always add at least a 10%, if not 20% contingency. Okay, don't ever leave that out. It'll bite you in the butt. Okay, determine your sales price. once you know what your ARV is, your after repair value, okay, you multiply it by the margin and you minus the repairs. So if, you know, if you're selling your house to a landlord investor, and most of them, they like the moderate income houses, but some of them also like the low income because they can get more cash flow, especially the ones that have been taught to look for houses in the newspapers. They generally will pay more, okay? Because most of the houses, or even if they're not buying it from the newspaper, but if they buy it from the MLS, chances are they're buying between 85 to 90% on the MLS. So if you find those buyers, they're good buyers for you. Okay, so landlords will tend to pay between 80 to 85%, sometimes even up to 90% of margin. If they really like the house, like if it's in an area that has a really good rental, a very good rental area, they'll pay up to 90% for it. Contractors, nowadays there's a lot of contractors that wants to fix up these houses themselves and retail them. How many of you guys in here are a contractor? Just you? Anyone else? Okay. You over there, yeah. Do you buy houses, fix it up, and retail it yourself? Not yet, okay. Well, contractors that do buy these houses, they will pay more. They will pay they pay less than landlords. They'll pay between 75 to 80% because they're saving that repair money. So instead of you estimating $15,000 for repairs, their repair could be $8,000 because, or $9,000 because a lot of it goes to either their physical labor or if they're a general contractor, the markup that they do. And so if you find contractors that fix up the houses themselves, you can sell them for more, okay? And if you sell your house to normal rehabbers, this is someone who are not a contractor and they're not landlords, they fix up the house with the intention to retail it. They don't pay as much. They pay between 65 to 75% of margin. And so that's pretty much sort of the breakdown, so you know what you need to offer, okay? Okay, maximum allowable offer, male. Basically, now you know what the sales price, based on the ARV, the repairs, how much you can possibly sell that house for. And so you know what the sales price you need to get the sellers to agree. The sales price that you can sell the house for. And you know how much you want to make as a wholesale fee. So in my case, I said the least I want to make is $10,000. So on this example here, the house is worth $100,000. And let's say I can only sell it at a 70% margin. Okay, so I'm selling it to a rehabber, and I just want to sell it really quick. See, when you sell at 70%, you can sell your house in hours. You don't need to sell it in days. And so for example, if you have a house today, and you bring it to me, or there's several other investors here in this room, and you said, hey, Tim, I have this house. I'm willing to sell it at 70%. I said, done deal. That's it. I'll get you under contract, and I'll go look at the house, and I'll wholesale it for more. Okay. And if the repairs, is more than what you say it is, I'll come back and get you to lower your price. It works the same way with the sellers, and it works the same way with other investors. Sellers are not the only people you can buy from. I buy houses from investors all the time. They wholesale it to me, and I immediately wholesale it to someone else. And I'll give you an example of one. Okay, I'll just go ahead and give it to you. A house in Missouri City, since that gentleman likes Missouri City. The investor got it under contract. It was a foreclosure, but except for it wasn't a mortgage foreclosure, it was a homeowner association foreclosure. The house is owned free and clear. And, no, I'm sorry, no, not free and clear. It's like a very small loan amount on it. And the homeowner association lien was over $5,000. Well, this guy did a really good job with, negotiating with the seller. And he got it under contract for like $20,000. Okay? This is a house, retail market, I think it's like 120 something, $130,000 house. It needs a lot of work. I mean, it's vacant, needs a lot of work. And the problem is he already tried to sell to another investor for $65,000. And the investor backed out on him at the last minute. And this house was going to be foreclosed on like within days, like less than a week. And so he called me up, him and his partner called me up, and I told me the situation, told me how much he was trying to sell it for. And so I came out, look at the house, and I came back and say, hey, look, I mean, it needs a lot of work. The most that I can pay you for this house is $40,000. And so I understand his situation. He have to be able to close this deal within a few days, or else it will get foreclosed on. And I already know he got a really good price on it. So I negotiate on my behalf. I know, well, this guy's gonna make 20 grand on it. He'll jump on this thing, even if I offer him 40,000. And he said yes. I immediately make just one phone call, not two, just one, and says, hey, I got this house in Missouri City. This is how much it's worth. This is how much in repairs. I want $65,000 for it, and I want to be able to close it in 4 days. And my buyer says, okay. So that's what we did. So after everything was said and done, the person who flipped it to me, the seller ended up making like $3,000 something from selling their house. Yeah. No, I get the number wrong. I'm sorry. It was. He got it under contract for 20, but because of initially they thought that there was no mortgage against the house, but then we found a little bit of mortgage, and then we have this homeowner association. So he ended up making less money than what he thought he would make. So, but what he did was he assigned the contract over to me. So, and he assigned it for 40,000. No, I did get the numbers right? I'm buying it for 40,000. He got it in contract for 20,000. After the mortgage that was owed on it, after the homeowner association, the seller ended up with like $3,000 or $4,000. And because he assigned it to me for 40,000, he got his $20,000 out of the deal. And then I double closed it to my buyer, because I didn't care for my buyer to know how much money I was making on it. And so we had a transaction of a seller, a wholesaler assigning it to me. I'm, as another wholesaler, double closing it to the buyer. And all of us closed within an hour. Yeah. So, only in America, exactly.
How did you know that he got it for $20,000?
He told me.
Oh.
Yeah.
But isn't that a stupid way to negotiate?
You know how I teach you guys to get more information? You keep on getting enough information, enough data, so you can make your decisions. Yeah, I mean, he shouldn't have told me that.
Hey, Tim,
Yes.
you say you get under contract, do you go down there and put an earnest money contract for $500 and option consideration also, or do you give any kind of money at all?
Well, in this case, we close so quickly.
No, not in this case, but in general. Let's say you come across a deal and you tie it up under contract. Do you give them $100 or $500?
Okay. Yes. Do you give any earnest money? I believe I will talk about it, but I'll go ahead and mention it here. I normally don't put any earnest money. Instead of where it says the amount for earnest money, I'll put other considerations. So that means zero money. Other considerations meaning I promise to close on this house, or promise to close on your house. A promise is considered as a consideration. Now, if the seller says, well, I mean, I mean, I want you to put some money in, then I'll put in $100. But I don't give it to the seller, I give it to the title company. Okay. So the most earnest money that I put out is $100. I like to either put $0 or, $10. Most of your sellers will not give you a hard time with you not putting up earnest money. Most of them. There's only some of them that's like, well, I want to see you put some money in. So I said, okay, fine. I'll deposit to the title company. Okay. So $100,000, and let's assuming I can only wholesale it at $70,000, and the house needs $10,000 in repairs. That means that I can only sell this house for $60,000 to my rehabber. And if I want a wholesale fee of $10,000, then that means that the most I can offer the seller is $50,000 for this house. Okay, it's the absolute most. But as I taught you earlier, you can wholesale these houses for a lot more. So it's not just 70%, you can wholesale up to 85%. A lot of gurus teach you, to only get houses under contract at 65% or 70%. I teach a little bit different. I teach you based on, first you need to know how much you can sell this thing for. Because whatever you can sell it for, your job is to get it for less and make the difference. So it doesn't matter if it's at 65% or 70% or 80% or 85%. I mean, who in here would turn down a deal that you can sell for $90,000 and you have to buy it for $85,000, which is 85% of value? Who would turn it down? Nobody, because you make $5,000. So don't always go based on percentage. Don't go always based on numbers. Go based on how much money can you make out of the deal. $3,000, $5,000, $7,000, $10,000. And I mean, wholesale deals, you can make, some of the numbers are really crazy. When we get into the sample deal that I have, you'll see a house where I put it under contract for $10,000, and I pay 2 referral fees in between, but the person who bought it for $110,000. A rehabber bought it for $110,000. So you can see what kind of spread these houses can have, and it's actually in here. Okay. And then Christina mentioned to me earlier how she got a deal, she made like $100,000 on it. You want to share that with everybody? See, I love success stories.
It wasn't easy. It was a rehab deal. I got it from one of my ads, call. They were in pre-foreclosure. Nobody would touch it. Had a lot of liens on the property, federal liens, which was difficult. That's why it took so long. Sellers were going to lose everything. They had a lot of equity. It was nearly paid off. And I decided, well, if I can get their liens paid off, because they were garnishing their wages as well. So they couldn't collect their paychecks. So I took care of their federal liens, negotiated with the IRS, and from that point, it took about 2 months to do that because it was a large, large lien from their business. And I would say it took me about 4 months total to finalize it, but I actually ended up buying it. I was going to rehab it, and it cost me maybe about $7,000 to $10,000 to fix it up,
Wow.
and I netted 97 on it.
Wow. Congratulations. Who in here would like to work on one deal for 4 months and make 97,000? Yeah, I mean, rehabbing makes a lot more money than wholesaling, there's no doubt about it. But there's a lot of risk involved in that as well, okay? Okay. We are going to take a break now. Any other questions before we go on our break? This class is over at 6 o'clock.
Hey,
Yeah.
Tim,
Can you go to the mic, please?
no, the question I'm gonna ask is simply, you said one of them go to the end of 5, right?
We go, yeah, we'll cover 5 and we'll continue with 6 tomorrow.
So the end of 5 and then we're done.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so we might be done before 6.
No, not necessarily.
Hey, Tim.
Yes.
Hey, Tim, with all these numbers, what would your closing costs be on your side if you're getting that wholesale fee?
Okay, it depends on how you flip this thing. If you do an assignment, then your closing cost is 0 because you're not part of, you don't have to close on it. All you do is you make your assignment fee, and the original seller will be the seller, your new buyer would be the end buyer, and you in the middle just make your assignment fee. Now, if you were to double close on this deal, meaning your original seller sell it to you as the buyer, you as the seller sell it to your new buyer as the end buyer, then you have to pay your part of the closing cost when you buy it and your part of the closing cost when you sell it. And so depending on if you negotiated with your seller to cover for all of their closing costs or not, assuming you're not, where everybody paid their own part of closing costs, then you're looking at about 1% when you buy and 1% when you sell. Well,
If you end up being just an assigned person in the middle, then the buyer and the seller both know that you've got the assignment fee in the middle, right?
yes, if you assign the contract, then yes, both the sellers and the buyers will know how much you're making. For me, if it's $15,000 or less, I normally assign it. If it's over that, then I will double close it. You were going to ask another one? That's correct. Your 1% is based on the sales price. Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's other factors to play, but when you buy it, if you don't have any, it's actually even less than 1%, but it depends on the sales price too. And I think I have a sample HUD in here. Like when we go into the sample deals tomorrow, the HUD will have all the closing costs, like how much is escrow fees, how much is title policy. And so if you add all that up, you can tell how much your closing costs would be, okay? And I have 2 sample deals. One is an assignment, and one is a double closing, so you can see that. Okay, any other questions before we go on our break?
Excuse me, why are we going for a break? If it's 20 to 6, why we don't finish and leave a little bit earlier? 4:30, no, 5 to 6. I'm sorry, my clock is
Yeah. She has Eastern time. I think she just came back from a vacation in Florida.
Hey, Tim, as far as tax implications, assignment versus
Tax implications, again, I'm not a CPA,
Okay.
but for an assignment, it's an ordinary income. For a double closing, you do have to pay capital gain taxes on it, because you actually own the property for that few seconds, or that few minutes. So if you assign contracts all the time, you don't need to do it in any special corporation or anything like that. But if you double close it, then you really should do it in a corporation. But talk to your CPA about the tax advantages and stuff. Any other questions? Don't be asking me questions during the break now.
I do have a quick question. I just want to know on a double close, how do you handle the disclosure part of it?
You don't need to.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't need to. The only time when there's a disclosures in the double closing is when there's a conventional lender involved. They're the one that requires the disclosures.